Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sega Driven YouTube channel. I'm Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven.com and you are watching our hands-on impressions of Team Sonic Racing at EGX, which we played yesterday. Now then, so Team Sonic Racing is very much a follow-on from All Stars Racing Transformed. It has the same sort of responsive and fluid sort of mechanics and feel that you'd expect. It definitely plays as I'd want it to, and it was very easy to get back into. Got the same sort of drifting and tricking and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're familiar with All Stars Racing Transformed and even the previous All Stars Racing, you will get on with this really well because it controls exactly as you'd expect it to. But it does have a very bizarre sort of like shift towards a team-based game mechanic, in that you are playing as one character and you have two buddies essentially. So you're trying to aim for a complete rostrum, so you want all three of your characters in first and second and third place at the end of the race to get the most points. So the way this is done is that your teammates leave sort of yellow slipstream trails behind them, very much sort of akin to sort of Outrun 2, I guess. And if you follow in the slipstream, you basically earn an awful lot of boost. And it's probably the best way to earn boost in this game and get yourself up to speed. Because of that as well, it does feel like the standard speed isn't particularly intense. It's not very. It doesn't feel like you're going very fast in this when you're sort of moving at standard speed. You've really got to be in your character's slipstream and earning as much boost as possible to really make this look like a fast game. So that was a bit of a weird thing that I noticed at first. It did feel a bit slow, but once you start earning the boost, that really sort of like picked up the pace quite a lot. You can still earn boost traditionally using drifts and tricks, but you don't earn it as aggressively as you used to in the previous games. There's also the purple sort of dash arrows on the track as well, which earn you a nice bit of boost as well. But really, you want to be aiming for slipstream to earn the most boost in this game, and that seems to be the big focus. And I think that's why the standard speed is a lot sort of slower than you'd expect from previous games. What with you working as a team as well, there's a bigger focus on sort of swapping items between each other as well. So your teammates can offer you an item to use, and if you haven't got one, then you can request it from them and then put it into action. Some of the items as well are based on the wisps from Sonic Colors. The one I saw the most was the cube item, which sort of adds a cube obstacle to the course, which you have to avoid then. Yeah, it's interesting. So, like I say, good handling model, feels very similar to Transformed. Visually, it's also very in line with Transformed as well. I wouldn't say it was particularly pushing the power of current gen systems, though. It looks like a follow-up to Transformed, and if it appeared on PS3 and 360, I wouldn't be surprised. The only thing that's really noticeably different is that it's aiming for 60 FPS, so it's nice and smooth. Well, I say nice and smooth. I did notice some stutters there, here and there. It didn't really sort of like drop massive frames and, you know, drop into 30 FPS for bits where it was hectic. But just in certain moments where it was very, you know, action heavy, you did notice the game stutter a little bit. So it wasn't a particularly smooth 60 FPS, but it was there most of the time. The action itself is very, very hectic. You always seem to be sort of in the thick of a group of racers at all times. And I think this is because obviously you're working as a team, you're always sort of slipstreaming each other and swapping places quite a bit. So yeah, the action was pretty hectic at all times. You always had racers around you and you were always dropping items and trying to avoid other attacks and things like that. I played 2 tracks of the demo, and one was a foresty stage where I won actually, so that was, I don't know if that was just pure luck or whether it was an easier stage to work with. But also there's an icy stage, which which I found a lot more difficult. There's a lot more sort of like overlapping track sections and branching paths and things like that. The stages themselves are actually a lot more like the original All Stars Racing Transformed, because you don't have the transformation like you do with Transformed itself. So there's no sort of boat sections or flying sections. It's all based on in cars on circuits essentially. So it's a lot more sort of traditional racer in that sense. The music as well is obviously noticeably done by Jun Senoi. There's a very sort of heavy guitar sound to a lot of the tracks. One of the songs in particular actually reminded me of Soundgarden quite a bit, very grungy. So yeah, it's quite diverse actually for a Jun sound. You know, there's more going on there than you'd expect actually. He's a lot more. He's quite diverse actually, even though he's obviously very heavy on the guitar slant. But yeah, it's an interesting little game. Obviously, playing things at an event like this isn't optimal. I didn't really get an awful lot of time with it to really sort of learn nuances and whether or not there was any sort of rubber banding going on there, because like I say, it did feel like you were always in the thick of a group of racers an awful lot of the time. So I don't know whether there is any rubber banding or not, or whether it's just the design of the team-based mechanics make that happen a lot more. So yeah, it was an interesting thing to play. I definitely want to be coming back to this. I think I'm very much looking forward to the full release. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out with like a career mode or something like that, how much it holds your attention, and then whether or not it will have the same diversity as All Stars Racing Transformed, which can obviously draw from lots and lots of different Sega franchises, whereas this is just Sonic focused. But it looked like there was more than enough there. There was a good selection of characters. You could play as, all your standard Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Rouge was there, the Chow are there, Big is there. There's some really interesting characters there. So, I think this has every opportunity to be just as dynamic and diverse as the previous games, just in a completely exclusive Sonic setting. So yeah, interesting little game. Like I say, some little niggles with the performance. It did feel like the 60 FPS wasn't particularly stable. It was a bit stuttery, and again, the standard driving speed is very sort of slow and plodding until you start earning boost. Then it really starts to pick up the pace. But those are my only real complaints. It did feel like an All-Stars Racing game, and it was very much in keeping with that design, and yeah, mechanically it was very sound. I think I'm very much looking forward to this. So yeah, good first impressions, just a few little things that I'd probably tweak before the final release, but yeah, otherwise a good little game.